People didn't start calling you difficult when you became worse. They started calling you difficult when you became unavailable to their old access. And if that sentence lands in your chest like a quiet bell, you already know what I mean. The moment you stopped explaining yourself on command, someone said you had an attitude. The moment you stopped answering instantly, someone said you were cold. The moment you stopped bending, someone said you were selfish. It is almost funny how predictable it is, until you realize how many years you spent trying to be easy to handle. Here is the map for this video, and I want you to listen like you are sitting across from a friend who is not trying to fix you, only trying to tell you the truth. We are going to name the trap that makes good people over-adapt, the backlash that shows up when you set clean boundaries, and the one sentence that proves you are evolving, not broken. Not as motivation, as orientation. Because if you mislabel evolution as a personality flaw, you will start negotiating with your own growth. You will shrink back into the version of you that was more convenient, more available, more manageable. You will call it being mature. You will call it keeping the peace. But underneath, it will be fear wearing a polite mask. So let's reframe this properly. Difficult is often not a diagnosis. It is a social alarm. It is what people say when the rules change and they do not get the same result from you anymore. When you used to say yes, they felt safe. When you used to tolerate the tone, they felt entitled. When you used to swallow your needs, they felt in control. And now your nervous system is learning a new language, and the old language does not work on you. Here is the question that cuts through the fog. Who benefits when you stay easy? If your chest tightens when you hear that, good. That tightness is information. It is the part of you that remembers every time you chose comfort for others over safety for yourself. And I am not saying you were weak. I am saying you were trained. Trained to associate love with accommodation, connection with compliance, belonging with being low maintenance. This is why growth can feel like guilt. This is why clarity can feel like cruelty. This is why you can be calm and still be accused of being harsh. When you start evolving, you stop being readable to the people who relied on your old patterns. They call it difficult because it is easier than admitting they liked you better when you were easier to influence. Stay with me, because in the next minutes, you are going to recognize yourself, and you are also going to spot the exact moment your life began to change. It started when you stopped offering yourself up for peace. You were not easygoing. You were over-adapted. That sounds blunt, but it is one of the most liberating truths you can hold. Over-adaptation is what happens when a good heart learns to survive by becoming predictable. You learn to reply fast so no one gets upset. You learn to explain your feelings like you are in court. You learn to forgive quickly, not because you have healed, but because conflict feels like danger. You learn to smooth everything over, to keep the air light, to keep your needs small enough to fit in someone else's comfort. And people love that version of you, not always because they are evil, but because it is effortless for them. They do not have to face themselves. They do not have to adjust. They do not have to negotiate their tone, their expectations, their entitlement. Your over-adaptation becomes the silent agreement that keeps the relationship running. But here is what no one tells you. The body keeps score on self-abandonment. Every time you say yes when you mean no, something inside you records it. Every time you swallow a boundary, your nervous system learns that your truth is not safe. And after enough repetitions, your inner world starts to revolt, not as drama, but as evolution. The fatigue, the numbness, the sudden intolerance for conversations that once felt normal. That is not you becoming difficult. That is you becoming honest. So you stop over-explaining. You stop writing paragraphs to earn basic respect. You stop replying in the middle of your own piece. You stop volunteering for emotional labor you were never assigned. And at first it feels like you are doing something wrong because the old you would have fixed it immediately. But the new you is doing something revolutionary. The new you is pausing. The new you is choosing truth over reflex. The new you is learning that peace is not the same thing as silence. And this is where the test begins. The world will not ask, "Are you healthier?" The world will ask, "Will you go back?" It will poke the old buttons. It will send the old guilt. It will frame your boundary as a betrayal. Not because you are wrong, but because your evolution interrupts the old deal. And when you exit the convenience trap, people do one predictable thing. The backlash is not proof that you are wrong. It is proof that the old contract is breaking. When you were over-adapted, you were easy to predict. You were the person who would answer, the person who would smooth it over, the person who would take the blame just to end the tension. That version of you was not just liked, it was used as a stabilizer. And the moment you stop playing that role, the system around you reacts. This is what I mean when I say people do not always miss you. They miss their access. They miss the old version of you that made their life simpler. The version that did not require accountability, emotional maturity, or self-reflection. The version that could be pressured, guilted, teased, or ignored into compliance. So the backlash comes, and it has a familiar costume. Someone gets sarcastic when you speak clearly. Someone calls you sensitive when you name disrespect. Someone says you have changed as if growth is an insult. Someone goes quiet and withholds affection because they have learned that your nervous system used to panic in silence and chase connection at any cost. Pay attention to how this works. It is not always a direct attack. Often it is a subtle punishment, a delay, a cold tone, a sudden distance, a passive comment that makes you second-guess yourself. The goal is not to understand you. The goal is to make you feel unsafe enough to return to the old pattern. And this is where many people betray themselves again, because they interpret discomfort as danger. They feel the emotional temperature change, and they rush to fix it. They apologize for a boundary. They over-explain a basic need. They soften a truth until it becomes a lie. They go back to being easy because being misunderstood feels unbearable. But here is the line you need to tattoo into your awareness. If someone only likes you when you are pliable, they do not like you. They like control. And I know that word can sound harsh, so let's make it clean. Control does not always mean cruelty. Sometimes control is simply a fear-based demand that you remain predictable so the other person does not have to face themselves. Your growth exposes their coping strategies. Your boundaries reveal their entitlement. Your calm reveals their chaos. Your clarity becomes a mirror they did not agree to look into. So they push back. And the most confusing part is that they will do it while claiming they are the victim. They will frame your boundary as rejection. They will frame your self-respect as selfishness. They will frame your need for consistency as being demanding. And if you are not careful, you will start defending yourself like a criminal for the crime of evolving. Here is the shift. You do not need to convince people who benefit from misunderstanding you. You do not need to argue your way into being treated well. You do not need to perform suffering to be taken seriously. You need to observe, because the moment you set a boundary, the relationship reveals its real contract, not the one spoken out loud, the one enforced through reactions. If the contract was love, your boundary will be met with curiosity. If the contract was access, your boundary will be met with punishment. In a minute, I'm going to give you a 2-question test that will tell you which contract you are dealing with, without you having to guess. But before that, we have to understand why, even when you are calm, you can still feel like the villain. Because the backlash outside of you is not the only battle. The deeper one is the backlash inside your own body. Here is why you can set a simple boundary, speak in a calm tone, and still feel like you are doing something cruel. Because for a long time, your body learned a twisted equation. Safety equals pleasing. Connection equals compliance. Love equals making sure nobody is disappointed in you. You did not choose that consciously. You absorbed it. Maybe you learned it in a home where moods were unpredictable. Maybe you learned it in relationships where affection came and went based on how easy you were. Maybe you learned it by being praised for being low maintenance, which is often just a pretty name for self-erasure. So when you start evolving, the first thing that changes is not your personality. It is your nervous system. Your nervous system stops volunteering you for peace. That is the moment you stop replying instantly. Not as a tactic, but because your body is finally asking, do I actually want to be in this conversation right now? That is the moment you stop over-explaining. Not because you do not care, but because you are done auditioning for basic respect. That is the moment you stop smiling while your stomach tightens. Not because you are angry, but because your body is refusing to lie. And then comes the strangest part. Your calm starts getting misread as coldness. Your clarity starts getting misread as hostility. Your silence starts getting misread as punishment. Why? Because the old version of you had a certain emotional noise. You used to process conflict by panicking, fixing, chasing, proving. That noise reassured people that they still had influence. When you become regulated, you become harder to read, and that threatens anyone who relied on your reactions to feel powerful. So you start to feel mean when you are not mean at all. You feel guilty for not doing the old dance. You feel selfish for protecting your peace. You feel like a problem because you are no longer willing to solve everyone else's discomfort with your self-abandonment. Let me give you the clearest pattern interrupt in this entire video. You did not become mean. You became harder to manipulate. Manipulation does not always look like evil plotting. Sometimes it looks like someone needing you to feel guilty so they do not have to change. Sometimes it looks like someone calling you dramatic so they do not have to take responsibility. Sometimes it looks like someone withdrawing affection until you return to being easy. And if your nervous system was trained to panic at disconnection, you used to fold quickly, just to restore the feeling of being safe. Now you are learning a new kind of safety. Safety that does not require you to disappear. This is why evolution feels like standing still, while the world tries to rush you back into the old role. You are not doing more. You are doing cleaner. You are not louder. You are more precise. You are not harsh. You are clear. And clarity feels aggressive to people who are comfortable with your confusion. But I need you to notice something else, something quieter. Even if nobody attacks you, even if nobody says a word, you can still feel an ache in the middle of this growth, a strange sadness. Not because you miss the pain, but because the old version of you used to work. It got you approval. It got you belonging. It got you invited. And when you outgrow that version, you do not just lose habits, you lose an identity. That is the next layer, and it is where most people get blindsided. There is a grief that comes with evolution that nobody prepares you for, because it does not look like grief. It looks like you second-guessing yourself in the quiet. It looks like you staring at an old message thread and thinking, was I too intense? Was I too sensitive? Did I ruin something? It looks like you missing people who did not really see you simply because your old self knew how to survive around them. This is the identity upgrade grief. You are not grieving a person. You are grieving a version of you that used to work. That version got rewarded. It got invited. It got chosen. It got praised for being easy, which often meant you were willing to absorb discomfort so others could stay comfortable. And when you start evolving, you lose a kind of social currency. You stop paying for connection with self-erasure, and suddenly some doors do not open the way they used to. That can feel like punishment, but it is actually a revelation. Because approval is quick, respect is slower. Approval is loud, respect is quiet. Approval comes when you fit the shape people already decided you should be. Respect comes when you become real, even if it disrupts their story about you. And the loneliness of upgrading is that fewer people can follow you into the new room, not because you became better than them, but because the old version of you was part of their comfort system. This is where the mind tries to bargain. It whispers, maybe I should soften it. Maybe I should explain more. Maybe I should just go back to being easy for a while, until they calm down. And the reason that whisper is so convincing is because it sounds like love. It sounds like kindness. It sounds like being the bigger person. But look closely. Most bargaining is not love. It is fear in a polite suit. Here is the truth I want you to hold, like a lantern in a dark hallway. People did not start calling you difficult when you became worse. They started calling you difficult when you became unavailable to their old access. And when you finally stop offering yourself up for peace, it creates a vacuum. The old dynamics cannot breathe in that space. Something has to change. Either the relationship matures, or it reveals what it was really built on. And that is why this grief is so specific. You are grieving the part of you that kept things stable, the part of you that could tolerate anything and still smile, the part of you that could pretend you were fine. You are grieving a survival strategy that once felt like love. But evolution does not ask for your nostalgia. It asks for your honesty. In the next part, I will give you the 2-question test that cuts through confusion, so you can stop guessing whether someone is reacting from love or leverage. It will make the entire pattern obvious, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Here is the 2-question test. It is simple on purpose because clarity does not need decoration. You can use it with a friend, a partner, a parent, a coworker, anyone. And the moment you apply it, you stop living in confusion. Question 1. When I say no, do they get curious or do they punish? Curiosity sounds like, help me understand. Talk to me. What do you need? How can we make this work? Even if they feel disappointed, they still treat your boundary like a real thing, not a personal attack. Curiosity is a sign of respect because it assumes you are a human with an inner world, not a function that should behave on command. Punishment is different. Punishment sounds like sarcasm, guilt, silent treatment, withdrawal, mocking, sudden distance, or an emotional cold front that makes you feel like you have to earn warmth again. Punishment is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is subtle, a delay that is meant to sting, a tone that is meant to teach you a lesson, a change in behavior that says, if you do not give me what I want, I will remove connection until you fold. If you feel your nervous system tighten reading that, pay attention. That tightening is the part of you that has been trained to interpret punishment as proof you are wrong. But punishment is not proof. It is a method. Now question 2. Do they care about my needs, or only how my needs inconvenience them? This question is where self-deception dies, because a person can pretend to respect your boundary while still resenting your humanity. They can say they understand while making you pay for it emotionally. They can nod and then keep bringing it up as evidence that you are selfish. So watch what they focus on. If they care about you, they will still hold the relationship with warmth, even while adjusting. If they only care about access, their main concern will be how your boundary affects them, how it interrupts their plans, how it makes them uncomfortable, how it forces them to change a habit they never questioned. And here is the payoff you must not ignore. If punishment appears when you set a boundary, it is not love, it is leverage. Leverage is when someone needs your discomfort to return so they can stay the same. Leverage is when the relationship runs on the fear of disappointing them. Leverage is when your peace is treated like a threat because it makes you less controllable. This is why the label difficult shows up right on schedule. The label is not a description of your character. It is a tactic to bring you back into the old role. It is the social alarm that rings when you stop responding to old strategies. And once you see this, you can stop fighting for the wrong kind of love. You can stop explaining your boundaries to people who translate boundaries as betrayal. You can stop shrinking to keep access open. But we still need to keep this honest because here's the next question that matters. What if the problem is not only them? What if some part of your own pain is coming out sideways? What if you are evolving, but also still carrying sharp edges you have not healed yet? That distinction is the difference between clean growth and reactive defense, and it is exactly where we go next. Now let's do the part that keeps you honest without shaming you. Because some people hear this message and use it like armor. They start calling every reaction a boundary, every coldness, self-respect, every sharp word healing. That is not evolution. That is pain wearing a crown. So here is the clean distinction. There is a kind of difficult that comes from being unhealed, and there is a kind of difficult that comes from being awake. Unhealed difficult is noisy inside. It needs to win. It needs to prove. It needs to punish back. It enters conversations already loaded, already rehearsed, already prepared to strike because it expects betrayal. It says, I'm just being honest, but the honesty is delivered like a weapon. It is not clarity. It is a discharge. And afterward, even if it was justified, you feel scattered, not empowered. Scattered. Evolving difficult is different. Evolving difficult is calm enough to be precise. It does not need a dramatic performance to be valid. It does not need to humiliate someone to feel safe. It can say no without a speech. It can name a pattern without trying to destroy a person. It can leave without slamming the door, because it is not trying to teach a lesson. It is trying to protect a life. Here is the internal test. When you speak your truth, are you trying to create understanding, or are you trying to create pain? That question is not meant to make you small. It is meant to make you free. Because if you keep confusing reaction with evolution, you will build a personality out of your wounds. You will call it strength, but it will still be fear. Fear of being dismissed again, fear of being used again, fear of being made to feel crazy again, and fear can make you sharp. So listen closely. Evolution isn't louder, it's cleaner. Cleaner means you do not require chaos to feel real. Cleaner means you can be disappointed without becoming cruel. Cleaner means you can be firm without being theatrical. Cleaner means your boundary is not a storm, it is a line. And if you are thinking, but what if I have been both, you are not alone. Many people evolve in phases. First, you stop tolerating disrespect, and it comes out messy because your nervous system is still learning. You swing from over-adaptation to over-protection. That does not make you a villain. It makes you human in transition. The goal is not perfection. The goal is integrity. So if you catch yourself getting sharp, do not collapse into shame. Get curious. Ask yourself what part of you feels threatened right now. Ask yourself what you are trying to prevent. Ask yourself whether you are seeking repair or seeking revenge. Because growth that lasts is not built on revenge. It is built on standards. And that brings us to the most practical part of the entire video. Not theory, not labels, not psychology lectures. Actual language. Actual scripts. Actual standards you can hold without apologizing, so your evolution becomes consistent instead of reactive. Here are the standards that make evolution real, because growth is not a feeling. It is a pattern you can repeat even when you are tired, even when someone is disappointed, even when your old self wants to rush in and fix everything. The first standard is this: you do not negotiate your nervous system anymore. If a conversation makes your body tighten, you do not force yourself to stay just to prove you are mature. You pause, you breathe, you buy yourself time. You stop treating urgency as love. You stop treating someone else's discomfort as an emergency you must solve. That alone will change your life, because people who relied on your instant reactions will start testing you. They will push. They will speed up. They will try to make you talk before you are ready. Your job is not to win the argument. Your job is to stay aligned with the version of you that you are building. The second standard is this: your boundary does not need a courtroom. You do not owe a speech to deserve respect. The more you over-explain, the more you teach people that your needs are negotiable if they apply enough pressure. Clean evolution says what it means once, and then it watches what happens. So here are 3 lines to keep, and I want you to hear how calm they are. Calm is power. I'm not available for conversations that punish honesty. I'm open to repair, not blame. You can miss the old me, but I don't live there anymore. Say them like a person who has stopped begging to be understood. Not cold, not cruel, just finished. The third standard is this: you stop chasing closure from people who benefit from keeping you confused. Some people will never give you the satisfying conversation. They will never admit what they did. They will never validate your reality. And if you keep returning to them for clarity, you are handing them the steering wheel of your peace. Real closure is not a sentence they give you. It is the decision you make when you stop participating in what drains you. And now, here is the shift that turns all of this from information into transformation. You stop apologizing for becoming harder to access in the ways that used to hurt you. You apologize when you are wrong, yes. But you do not apologize for being clear. You do not apologize for being slower to respond. You do not apologize for needing consistency. You do not apologize for not performing emotional labor to keep other people comfortable. Because the moment you stop apologizing for your evolution, the right people exhale. They adjust. They get curious. They rise with you, and the wrong people get louder, because your growth removes their leverage. Hold that as a compass. The noise is not proof you are wrong. It is proof you are no longer available to the old access. And now, we are ready to seal this with a new contract, the kind that ends the inner war and makes your growth feel grounded instead of lonely. Finally, let's write the new contract, because if you do not name what is true, your old conditioning will keep trying to rename you. Here is the contract. I will no longer confuse my evolution with a flaw. I will no longer call myself difficult just because someone else preferred me smaller. I will no longer trade my nervous system for belonging. And I will no longer beg for clarity from people who need me confused. That is not arrogance. That is the beginning of self-respect. You can feel it when it arrives. It is not loud. It does not come with a speech. It comes with a strange quiet inside your chest, like a door closing gently, and you realizing you are not trapped outside of yourself anymore. In that moment, something in you understands that you were never meant to be universally liked. You were meant to be real. You were meant to be aligned. This is where the spiritual part of this message becomes practical. Awakening is not only about ideas, it is about perception. It is seeing the invisible contracts you used to sign without reading. It is noticing how often you tried to purchase peace with your own discomfort. It is realizing that what you called being easy was sometimes just a survival strategy that kept other people comfortable while you slowly disappeared. If you have lived like that for years, of course your evolution will look disruptive. You are not only changing behavior, you are changing identity. You are stepping out of a role, and roles have gravity. When you leave, the room feels the absence. That is why some people react with guilt, sarcasm, distance, or the old sentence you changed. They are not describing you. They are describing their loss of influence. And you might still feel that old pull, the urge to explain, the urge to fix, the urge to prove you are still good. Watch that urge with kindness. It is not evil. It is just old programming. It is the part of you that believes connection must be earned through performance. And every time you notice it and choose clarity instead, you are retraining your system to trust your own truth. This is what growth looks like on the inside. It looks like you pausing before you apologize. It looks like you asking yourself, did I do something wrong or did I just make someone uncomfortable by refusing the old dance? It looks like you tolerating the temporary discomfort of being misunderstood because you are no longer willing to live in the permanent discomfort of misunderstanding yourself. Now I want to close a few loops so your mind can stop wandering and your body can settle. The convenience trap was never your personality. It was your nervous system trying to stay safe by staying useful. The boundary backlash was never proof you became bad. It was proof the relationship had been running on access instead of respect. And the one sentence that proves you are evolving, not broken, is the same one we started with. And I want you to hear it one more time. Slowly, without defense. People didn't start calling you difficult when you became worse. They started calling you difficult when you became unavailable to their old access. Here are 3 proof moments that tell you the change is real. The first is that you feel less urgency to be understood by everyone. The second is that your no becomes simpler, not crueler. The third is that you recover faster after conflict, because you are no longer fighting yourself in secret. If someone hears your boundary and responds with punishment, that is information. If someone hears your needs and only talks about how inconvenient you are, that is information. Information is a gift when you stop using it to blame yourself. Because the goal is not to collect evidence that you are worthy. The goal is to build a life where your worth is not up for debate, and here is the part that will feel both relieving and sobering. Some relationships will not survive your evolution, not because you are superior, but because the relationship was structured around your self-abandonment. When you remove self-abandonment, there is nothing left holding it together. That loss can hurt. Let it hurt. Grief is not a sign you made the wrong choice. Grief is the nervous system releasing what it no longer needs to carry. If you are in that space right now, do not romanticize the past. Remember the cost. Remember how many times you edited your own truth to keep someone close. Remember how many nights you replayed conversations, trying to find the perfect wording so you would not be punished for having needs. Remember how much energy went into being digestible. Your evolution is not a mood. It is a return. And when you return to yourself, something remarkable happens. The right people do not get scared. They do not need you to be smaller to feel safe. They may need time to adjust, yes, but they do not punish you for being honest. They get curious. They grow. They meet you in the new room. Those are the relationships that feel like oxygen, not like a test. So if you are watching this and you are in that in-between season, where you are not who you were, but you are not fully comfortable as who you are becoming. Let this be your anchor. You are not difficult. You are evolving. Your clarity is not cruelty. Your boundary is not betrayal. Your regulation is not coldness. It is the evidence that you are no longer at war with your own needs. And if you want a simple practice to carry after this video, do this the next time guilt shows up. Place one hand on your chest and ask, what is the old role trying to pull me back into right now? Then ask, what would a clean version of me do? The version that is not trying to win, only trying to stay true. You do not need a dramatic move. You need a consistent one. One clear sentence, one honest pause, one boundary held without a speech. That is how the new identity becomes real. One last reminder, in case the old voice returns tomorrow. Being difficult would mean you take pleasure in conflict, or you use honesty to harm, or you demand that others carry your chaos. Evolving means you are refusing to carry what is not yours, and you are learning to carry yourself. That is why it feels unfamiliar. That is why it feels lonely sometimes. But unfamiliar is not wrong. It is new. You are not difficult. You are evolving. And the moment you stop apologizing for that, your life gets quiet in the best way, because you are no longer negotiating with your own soul.